Hey everybody, welcome to this video. This is Kaboom, and in today's video we're going to be looking at speed on weapons. I went through and I tested each of these weapons, the daggers, the different variants here, the swords with the different variants, and the spears. I compiled all that information together and came up with this cool little chart that might help you guys in deciding what weapons you want to use in certain situations. There are two important measurements. There's damage per second, and then there is hits per second. The reason why this matters is because of the different uses for your weapons. One of your uses is going to be fighting creatures out in the wild. You're just going to be fighting them, and you want a very high damage per second. Another thing you're going to do is pop the crystals that are basically mob spawners when you are fighting the Storm King or when you're in a storm dungeon. You may also find yourself wanting to break one of the crystals on the Storm King. If we look over here in the forge, you'll see these two different runes: damage 3, destruction 3. Destruction is the rune that instantly destroys a resource when damaged. This is really good if you can get it to go off on those crystals, and damage 3 is really good against everything, especially if you want to increase your damage per second, your DPS. So there are a lot of different situations you may find yourself in, but before I share the results, let me actually share something with you guys on the spear. On the spear, it was a little difficult to get the measurements for speed down because there's this little pause that the spear will do sometimes, and I don't know if it's meant to do that, but it's like right at the end of a cycle, sometimes your spear will pause, like right there, that little pause. Sometimes that little pause will actually be longer and can actually get you into a lot of trouble. Oh, there it is, right there. Oh, and it went into the throw. Okay, so right there, the spear stopped working, and then there was like a long pause. Now, for my testing, I took that out of the equation, just removed anything that did that, because I don't believe that the spear is supposed to lock up like that, and I didn't want one bad result to skew everything. But I want you guys to know about that, so that if you do run into that issue, you're not surprised by it. The other thing I wanted to also share with you guys is something that I noticed on the sword. I was like really surprised by this. Let's see if we can get some guys grouped up here. Come on, group up, guys, group up. Okay, so the sword has sweeping edge. So, oh, oops. Let's not use this sword. This sword, that was zapping for. Oops. All right. So when you have like a group of people, oh, there we go, perfect. That just took out all of those guys. See that sweeping edge? So it does damage to multiple enemies at once, and that is not something that I can say about the spear. I don't think I've seen it on the dagger either. Oh, jeez. Okay, let's go over here. That was awkward for all of us. All right. Here we go. Yeah, it's just doing damage to the one enemy. So I'm pretty sure that the dagger does not have sweeping edge either. So keep that in mind also, because when I show you guys this stuff, just want you to have all the facts when you go to make or choose your own weapon. All right, before we talk about that though, let's take a look here at the crossbows. So what I did is I shot the crossbows off for 1 minute. This one should be the fastest. These two close to each other, and this one has the speed buff from the rubies, and this one has a speed buff from the copper. And then this is the sapphire and gold crossbow, which allows you to have 4 runes. So there's no speed buff on this. So this is my base bow, as I like to call it. So my base level bow, and then going up. And then we had all these here. Same thing here with these. Actually, I put the resources here so you can see what they're crafted with. And then the swords and the spears. Over here, yeah, I shot these for a minute. This one shot 2 more arrows than this one, and these both shot about an arrow more. You know, these were averages, and so I didn't see much of a difference there. So I definitely would recommend always going with the 4 slots of runes on the crossbow. Let me pull a chart up here real quick. Okay, so here's my chart. This took me a couple days to get. Like I said, I started off by fighting animals, the blasters, which are my favorite thing to test on, but I was getting really weird reading, so I ended up going to a block and testing on a block. But as you can see here, we've got the time that it took for me to destroy the block, and up here on the top it has ruby copper, ruby gold, sapphire copper, and sapphire gold, and that's this column. And then going down, you got your dagger, sword, and spear, and then this is the time it took to destroy the block. This was the damage per second, the DPS. As you can see here, the dagger, it wasn't that good. But the hits per second was actually the best out of these, just a little bit better than the spear, which made me think that this might be the way to go with the destruction, but I'll show you guys that footage here in a second. The sword here had the best DPS out of both the weapons. You can see up here how long it took. It was very quick. It was very powerful in its attack, but its hits per second was on the lower end out of all these. And then we come to the spear. Now the spear had a very good time on destroying. It was very quick on destroying the block. Had a very, a little lower than the sword on DPS, but it had a pretty good DPS overall. And then the hits per second, it was just a hair slower than the dagger. But from what I found, that in the end did not put the dagger over the top. Let's take a look at this footage. Okay, so in this footage, you can see I am attacking the crystals with the dagger, and what I'm finding is that the destruction is just not popping off as much as I like it to. It is sometimes, but it's just not delivering like I was hoping. That brings me to the spear, and with the spear, I found even if I wasn't able to get the destruction to go the way that I wanted to go, it was still doing a good amount of damage to the crystal, which then caused the crystal to get destroyed, even if the destruction didn't go off. So through my testing, I did find, and I would say, that the spear did beat the dagger, but I would encourage you to go test this out for yourself and see. Let me show you here real quick what I ended up going with. So here's the spear that I ended up going with. Let's take a look at these enchantments real quick. So on the spear, I've got damage 3, Stormbane 3, and destruction 3. Now the reason why I went with this one is because according to my chart, this was just a hair slower than the ruby and copper one that would give me 2 enchantments, and I wanted the possibility of getting the destruction to pop off. I wanted the extra damage Stormbane gave and the extra damage gave. And so overall, I would definitely recommend this as the weapon to take with you to attack the crystals. Be sure you take with you a good crossbow with all your enchantments on it, depending on what you're fighting, and a good sword for the groups of mobs. And then I would highly recommend this third weapon in your inventory to take out the crystals with destruction on it. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then you'll probably enjoy this video also.